Your Steve Jones Show podcast will start shortly. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Brewers Outlet, your beverage supermarket on Reagan Street in Sunbury. Sports talk where your voice counts. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Great to be with you on this Friday on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Shikellamy, Jersey Shore coming up tonight at 7 o'clock. We're on beginning at 6:30 with Kevin and the Chief. All right, today's show brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Imports, domestics, microbrews, the best selection of beer anywhere. Wine coolers, water, soft drinks, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and out every day in the pickle bar, led by the barrels and the dills. Indeed, second to none. All at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. So it's an Auburn preview. Penn State tomorrow will take on Auburn at Jordan-Hare Stadium. Kickoff is set for 3:30 tomorrow. We're on beginning at 2 o'clock. We will hear from Jason Campbell, the former Auburn quarterback. Brad Nessler will call the game on CBS. Andy Burcham, the play-by-play voice of Auburn, and Dennis Dodd from CBS. A lot going on today. Great to have you with us on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Welcome back. Today's show brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Imports, domestics, microbrews, the best selection of beer anywhere. Wine coolers, water, soft drinks, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and out every day. The pickle bar, led by the barrels and the dills, indeed second to none. All at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. And we're in the Sunbury Motors studio. Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummels Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. He played against Penn State in the Capital One Bowl, went on to be a first-round pick of Washington, and played in the NFL. Former Auburn quarterback Jason Campbell. Jason, welcome back. Great to have you with us.
Hey, guys. I've been doing great. Football season is here, and, it feels like it's been a long time waiting, but then all of a sudden the first week goes by fast, and then next thing you know, it's 2 weeks that's gone by. So, I'm excited. The football season is back.
How would you describe a Saturday in Auburn, Alabama?
Oh, I would say this, just like Friday Night Lights, as far as like some towns where you feel like everything shuts down when a football game is going on a Friday night in a small town. That's how it is in Auburn. Auburn is a really good place to live. It's a great college town, and on game day, everyone is tailgating. Everyone's pretty much at the game or at a close bar near around, or you have people out tailgating outside the stadium during the game while they watch the game on TV. So it's a great atmosphere. It's loud on big games. And, fortunately, this game is not at nighttime, because at nighttime it's really, really cool how they do the lights and everything. But it'll still be a great fall day for football come this Saturday.
What's it like to go through the Tiger Walk?
Well, it's different now. When I went through Tiger Walk, we didn't have security guards. I used to get beat up. And I used to tell Tuberville when we got to the locker room, I said, Coach, I said, is there any way? I said, I love Tiger Walk. I said, but is there any way we can get the people to stand back a little bit? I said, I done took 4 or 5 sacks before I even get to the locker room. Like, guys just coming up, just pounding you in the chest. Let's go. And you just like, dude, chill. So around towards my senior year, we finally got around to having security guards that kind of had it roped off a little bit so people couldn't just be like right on top of you, pounding you in the chest and punch you in the arm, talking about let's go. So, but it's a great experience. When you look at the job that T.J. Finley has done through 2 games and then Robbie Ashford, what have been your thoughts from a quarterback's point of view? Guys still trying to find their rhythm, still learning trust. Just based off what I see from a standpoint of, Robbie is an athletic guy, and of course he can utilize his legs. He's definitely an extension of the running backs, but he's also a guy that, he can throw the ball. And, he hasn't had a lot of experience of throwing the football because, he's been out of high school for 2 years, and he transferred to Auburn. So he just needs more passing experience in game-like situations. And then as far as TJ goes, TJ, he's not as mobile as Robbie, but he knows a lot more of the offense. He's the longest quarterback on the tenor, longest quarterback under Harsin on the staff, on the roster. So, he proposed more of knowing about how to get us out of bad plays and checks and different things like that. And, he felt a lot more comfortable, I thought, in the second half of the San Jose State game than he did the first game and the first half of that last game. So, hopefully he'll take some strides this week against a Penn State team that's, has a really good defense, has Porter Jr. at one of the corners who's a predicted first-round pick. And so we'll need our passing game to pick up. Our run game has been pretty good, but our passing game needs to pick up, and I think that's all about just trust when you have two different quarterbacks playing.
Yeah, TJ is long in two areas, one in tenure and the other one he's 6'7". That's amazing. I mean, he is a 6'7" quarterback. In any way, obviously he can see the field. Is there anything about a 6'7" guy where it hinders them?
Yeah, it's evident. Like you said, you don't see many of them. I think him and maybe Jamarcus Russell, I think he was raising around 6'6", 6'7", but I can't think of many quarterbacks that's that tall. Most have been like 6'5" and under. But like I said, he's a little bit more mobile as a 6'7" guy than a lot of 6'7" guys. Most 6'7" guys play basketball. They out there with Bruce Pearl, to be honest.
Right.
But, he's trying to make a quarterback out of it. And like I said, the advantage he has, he can see on the offensive line. He can see blitzes coming and still deliver the ball. So that's one advantage that he has. And I think that's what helps him out on fourth down situation when we have to go for it. I was telling someone in the booth last week, I said, it seems like on fourth down, he has a different sense of urgency. It's like he's dropped the ball or have to make some miraculous play for us to have a position to keep the drive going. And so far, he's been on point with those. It's just not taking those bad sacks because he's not as mobile, knowing when to have to deliver the ball a lot quicker than he probably wants to because he know the guys can pin their ears back and come back. So when you know that, you got to get the ball out of your hands, but don't take bad sacks where you're second and long or third and long.
It looks like when he is in some semblance of trouble or needs something, John Samuels Shanker, his tight end, is the guy he wants to go to. When you played that position, was there a guy that no matter what, you sat back, Jay, said, you know what, I need something here. I could depend on him.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. When you see, anytime you get blitz, zero, sometimes these teams like to do when they man across the board. You don't have time to go through a first, second progression. You have to pick a side and say, okay, I know this guy can win, which is their guy. So I'm going to take my guy being better than their guy. And that's usually who you go out and target. When I was playing, it's Courtney Taylor.
Yep.
He was one of my biggest guys at that position when it came to like game on the line. In the NFL, sometimes you feel comfortable with tight ends, Chris Cooley and different things like that. So when you understand the situation and you understand that, okay, they're bringing more guys than we can protect, you got to just take the best matchup. And, sometimes week to week that can change based off if they're a corner. You putting Porter Jr. on our best receiver, then of course that's not a matchup. So then you may go elsewhere with the ball. So it's just knowing things like that as far as the quarterback position and studying the game that makes you understand on third downs and then red zone when the defense clamps on you in the end zone is another defender. The back line, you understand the room gets shorter. So I just think from understanding those aspects for Robbie and TJ is the next steps for them.
What makes Derek Hall, in your opinion, a special guy in that defensive side of the ball?
I think his understanding of the 34 defense, it kind of fits him, his style linebacker, where he's able to kind of rush on the outside, but also be a run stopper as well. He's a big physical guy. He's strong. He definitely absorbs point of contact, the line of scrimmage very well. And I think it's just experience. That's one thing you can't teach is experience. And I think he has that. Kobe Wooten has that. Owen Papo has that. These guys have been around Auburn long enough now, understand the games and understand the big games. They understand this is a big game. It was a big game last year and everything. They understand this is a game that everyone expected them to beat San Jose State and Mercer. That's not a shocker. But, playing against a Penn State team that's, they're trying to get back to their ways. They have an experienced quarterback who's back for his sixth year. So, crowd noise is not going to be a big factor to him just because he's played in big atmospheres before. So I think that's a situation that, we just got to play sound defense and not have the bad penalties and different things.
Yeah, one guy, what about Cam Riley? It looks like in the middle he's really started to come on. Is that fair?
It reminds me of, I'm not sure if y'all know Carlos Danzy.
Yes, I'm very aware. He played against Penn State in the Capital One Bowl.
Yeah, so Carlos Dansby, he kind of reminds me of a Carlos Dansby. He's very long. He's 6'4". He has long arms, and that helps you in the passing game, the run game, and if you're athletic, it just helps you all over. And I just think from a standpoint, he's really, really coming on that linebacker position, and taking over from McClain and everything. Yeah. I just think, he's a guy that he just gets better each game. He had 16 tackles in the first game. And, last game he didn't have, as many as he did the first. But, at the same time, I think he's still a guy that's so athletic. You have to know where he's at all times on the field. And let's just face it, the more he can get between the ears of knowing what to do, then he's going to be a really, really great football player for Auburn.
How do you describe Tank?
Hard-nosed downhill. He really resembles his name, Tank. He kind of, is a one-back type of guy. When he gets the ball, it's one direction, it's downhill. He tries to get there as quick as he can. Our other backs are a little bit more patient as far as, like, when it comes to reading the zones and cutbacks and different things. But Tank is I want to get going downhill. If anyone's in the way, they're just in the way. But he's a guy that's, that basically describes him. And then also, in catching passes out of the backfield. He's gotten better at being a back out of the backfield that's been part of our receiving core, that you can get the ball in his hands early enough in open space. He can get you 10, 12, 15 yards. So, he's one of those guys who's getting better at that aspect and also in pass protection. But, yeah, Tank definitely describes his name, just coming at you downhill.
Yeah. Oh, no, he is all of that. There's no question about that. All right. So, we talked about the atmosphere around a game like this. Obviously, Alabama is the game. It is what it means. What does this game mean? Penn State's never been there. Penn State's got a name, but, we know that Georgia will play Auburn. We know Alabama plays them every year. Where does this game fit in the thought process?
Oh, we take all the game. I know everyone always says, Alabama game is our biggest game, but to be honest with you, anytime it's an SEC scheduled game or a Big Ten game or a Pac-12 game, we take all those games the same way. But there's so many different rivals within our conference, but, we look at this game as another big game because, Penn State is a tradition powerhouse when it comes to football. Auburn is a tradition powerhouse when it comes to football. And anytime you can get those matchups, you want to enjoy the moment and you want to enjoy the atmosphere. And, if I'm a Penn State fan, this is a game I'm putting on my bucket list to come to.
Right.
Because the atmosphere is going to be electric. If you haven't been to Auburn before, been in big games, like you'll feel the energy. Tailgating would be awesome. And just the whole lead up to the game. And like I said, RVs, what's the day? Tuesday. So RVs will start coming in this afternoon.
Ooh.
And people will start trying to find their parking spots and places for their RVs. So they'll be there all the way through Sunday. So, I remember when I played in Auburn, every time there was a big game, Tuesday afternoon, you start to see the RVs coming while we were out there practicing. And they just pretty much spend the next 5 days there. So it's a big deal. Like I said, there's no NFL teams in the state of Alabama. Pennsylvania has Pittsburgh, but here there's no NFL team. So Alabama and Auburn is as big as it gets when it comes to the state of Alabama. So you best believe it's going to be a dynamic, electric atmosphere.
When you were playing, you'd be warming up before the game. Did you ever see the eagle fly? And if so, what's it like?
I got to see the eagle fly probably before. Before I started actually playing.
Okay.
I was actually a recruit. I didn't actually get a chance to see the eagle fly again until after I finished playing ball. I kind of wish they had it where the players could be on the sidelines as soon as they do the national anthem and then have the eagle to fly. But they like to do the flyover, so I understand that as well. And so it's kind of an experience that I wish the players, even opposing players, I wish they could see it because I'm the type of person, every time I play in a stadium, whether college or NFL, I want to take in the moment.
Yes.
Because, everything that makes that city special, makes that stadium special, I wanted to know, and I wanted to experience it, and that's a conversation piece. You walk away like, man, that was kind of cool how they did this. And I remember when I played against the Steelers in the pros when they do Renegade in the fourth quarter. That's kind of cool. So, it's just different things that bring excitement to different college atmospheres. And like I said, Penn State is great at what they do as well. So, yeah, I remember playing Penn State when I was in 2002 when we played them in the bowl game.
I did the game.
Yeah, Joe Paterno, that was a very windy game. So
yes, it was.
He had to run the ball like crazy. You try to throw a ball, it just got cut out the air. But, what a great opportunity for Auburn and Penn State to get together and play, though. A lot of teams are scared to do that nowadays because of all the playoffs. And hopefully this 12-team playoff will allow more matchups like this.
One final question, and this is not a political question. Please, I don't go into political questions. Did you ever think your head coach would be a U.S. Senator?
Oh, gosh, yeah, I did not. I knew he was a politician just based off practice. Because when we used to practice, I used to ask the guy, I said, does Coach Tubby ever coach a position? Because he would always be on the sideline talking to boosters and different people, letting them enjoy practice and call the players over sometimes to just, sign an autograph for a booster or somebody that, they're just out there watching practice. Someone that came in town, a cousin or somebody, and just take a picture or something. But he was always just getting to know people. So when I found out he was running for senator, I was like, why would you want to do that? I've been a successful football coach and everything, and politics seems like today doesn't do anything but just divide people.
Yeah. And
I was just like, why would you want to get involved with that? Why not try to get involved with trying to be an AD at a school or something, or get involved with things like that? I was just like, but he chose to go the political route, and now I don't know if he likes it or not, but I'm pretty sure he probably enjoyed his days on the sideline a lot better.
I agree with you. He probably did. Hey, Jason, thanks so much. Really appreciate it very much, and look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
All right, you too, guys. Appreciate it.
Former Auburn quarterback Jason Campbell. Coming up in the next half hour, we'll shift gears to TV. Brad Nessler from CBS. He'll call the game with Gary Danielson coming up tomorrow. Then Andy Burcham, play-by-play voice of Auburn football, join us at 4:06. Final half hour, Dennis Dodd from CBS. Today's show brought to you by our good friends at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. And we're in the Sunbury Motors studio. Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors, Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummels Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is, because it's Brewers Outlet time. The beverage supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you. And thank you for your years of patronage.
When it comes to car buying, there's the other guy's way, and then there's the SMC way. The other guys force you into a vehicle you really don't want. The Sunbury Motors way lets you take the time you need to browse, ask questions, and take the test drive and think on it. For over 100 years, the Mertz family and all their employees have made your experience the most pleasant one you'll ever have. The other guys won't offer you the best price for your trade, no matter how much they say they will. The SMC way is their promise to provide you with the most money the market shows your vehicle is worth. The SMC way is to offer you all applicable factory rebates on new vehicles and generous discounts. Looking for a pre-owned vehicle? The SMC way checks each vehicle in a 200-mile radius to determine the lowest price, then beat it. It's the lowest price promise, just part of the SMC way. The choice is up to you. The other guy's way or the SMC way. The SMC way wins every time. Sunbury Motors Company in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury, and at sunburymotors.com. Selling more cars and satisfying more customers for over 100 years.
Sports talk where your voice counts. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Today's show brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Imports, domestics, microbrews, the best selection of beer anywhere. Wine coolers, water, soft drinks, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and out every day. 6 great flavors of slushies and the pickle bar. Led by the barrels and the dills, indeed second to none. All at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Stock up for the big game right now. All right, we're in the Sunbury Motors studio. Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors, Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummels Wharf. And online at sunburymotors.com. And by the way, don't forget, we are going to be at Penn's Tavern on Monday, for Monday's show, for the Neil Mertz Frenzy. We're looking forward to it. So that'll be 3 to 5. We'll be at Penn's Tavern on Monday. Looking forward to seeing each and every one of you out there for that. We're going to have a great time. He is, without question, one of the best in the business. I don't care what it's football, basketball, whatever it happens to be. He'll call the game tomorrow on CBS with Gary Danielson, Brad Nessler. My good friend, great to have you back. Welcome. Great to be with you.
I'm good, man. It was good to hear Steve. Good to hear John Sterling on the call. He likes to judge home runs a little bit.
Yeah, he's got all sorts of calls when it comes to Aaron Judge. All sorts.
John's been doing it 100 years, longer than you and I.
I know. I remember when John was doing the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah, he did the Braves, too. So, and then he went to the Yankees, and he's been up there ever since.
Amazing. So, one place I've never been to Auburn. So, what is it like doing a game in that atmosphere in Auburn, Alabama?
It's pretty cool, man. It's going to be good to see in person, by the way.
Same here.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're used to 110,000 people, and Happy Valley is as loud and as crazy as any place. I think maybe the temperature and the humidity might get to everybody a little bit differently than if you were in Happy Valley, but I thought we were going to have just beautiful weather, but I think it's going to warm up to probably 87 or so, maybe 88, and it's been really nice the last couple of days down in this part of the country, but I think it's going to be a little steamy probably for the game on Saturday. But great atmosphere, when they go out and the War Eagle flies at the beginning of the game before the national anthem and all that. It just kind of sets the scene. But, you'll enjoy it, but you've been in just as big a stadiums and just as rowdy of places as you'll see on Saturday.
All right, now, no question, which then brings up next year will be a split year with the SEC and the Big Ten. How excited are you to get the Big Ten back in the mix, and then eventually, obviously, the SEC will fall by the wayside, but what's your thought on that?
You know what? I haven't really put a lot of thought into it. I guess I've been explaining it to my family, explaining it to my friends. From that standpoint, I've had to talk about it, but I know the first 2 weeks of the season next year, when we normally wouldn't even be working, maybe I'm doing Big Ten games, and then some other ones mixed in there, And so from that standpoint, it'll be kind of fun. I mean, Gary and I kind of came up the ranks in the Big Ten when we were at ESPN when we were together the first time, and so getting back to some of those locales will be a lot of fun. Got a lot of friends still in those places. Basically all our family, for the most part, is still in the Midwest and in the Big Ten. So I might have more of my nieces and nephews watching than I do normally on a Saturday because they'll pay more attention to the old uncle when he's up in that part of the woods.
What kind of, you've gone through the video so far. I don't know if you've had a chance to talk to the coaches yet, but we'll start with Penn State, then I'll go to Auburn. What read do you have on Penn State first?
First of all, I know everybody's excited about the freshman quarterback, and he's really fun to watch and everything. But I thought Sean Clifford played as good as you can play last week, really, against Ohio. I mean, he might have had a sack or two and maybe a read or two, that he would like to have back. But I think he's been really good. And, when you got a guy that's been around 6 years, that's like having a great point guard in basketball. And I thought he's played really, really well. The young guys, I know you've got to be psyched about it because, you haven't had a running back like that probably since Saquon, and Nicholas Singleton looks like the real deal. I can't wait to see him in person. It's just from watching the film the last week. He's something special. When you hear about five-star guys and number one recruits and top recruit and Gatorade Player of the Year, all that stuff, that's great until you get out and you start playing somebody. And for him to do what he's done, in the first couple of weeks, just from the first snap against Purdue, the first time he got in there, I was like, whoa, maybe this guy's everything that everybody's been talking about. And after watching the game, I think he is. So that's going to be cool to watch him play. And I think Tinsley, the guy that transferred in, really good receiver, and they just look solid. Penn State looked fast on defense to me too. So I think it'll be a great matchup. SEC Big Ten. This is if it's anything like last year's game that you guys had up there, it'll be great.
Yeah, that was quite a game between the two. So now I'll flip the page. Auburn's played Mercer and San Jose State to this point. What kind of read do you have on them at this stage after 2 games?
I don't think they're very good. They're 2-0 though. They'll take that. I got a lot of friends down in this part of the country that are Auburn fans, and when I saw some of them on Sunday when we were watching NFL games together, they were not a happy group. But nobody in the SEC is ever happy. I guess you can be 7-0, and they've got something to complain about. They're just inconsistent. I'm not nuts about the 2 quarterback rotating system. Now, it's different for Penn State. They got an opportunity to play 3, and that's because they were ahead, and everybody had a chance, and all of them played really well. That's different than going every other play, or if it's going to be a pass, let's leave T.J. Finley in there. If we're going to run it, let's go with Robbie Ashford. I'm not nuts about that whole system of running guys in and out on the same series. So that's just me. So Brian Harson's got a plan. And I kind of think in their case, they use 2 quarterbacks because they aren't comfortable with either one of them. So, the old adage about if you're playing 2 quarterbacks, that means you don't have one. So I don't know if that's the case or not. But that's the way they played so far, Steve, I think, and just inconsistent and, bad throws, bad interceptions. Their passing attack is not where they want it. I know that. But, they did a good job of running the football and kind of getting back to what they can do with Tank Bigsby, and in doing that, they got back in the game and subsequently won last week. But they could have easily lost that game. They should have been down 14 to whatever at halftime. Crowd, there was a situation where you said, "What's the atmosphere like?" The crowd cost San Jose State one of their touchdowns in the second quarter because they just kept going backwards. They're down on the 2-foot line, and all of a sudden they're back at the 12 or whatever it was, and it's 3rd and goal. So from that standpoint, I think that's going to be good to have a guy like Sean running the show because he's heard noisy crowds before. He's been there and done that.
All right, exactly. Bigsby and Hunter. Now, obviously, I've only seen them once in person. That was here. You've seen them multiple times, including the game with Alabama last year. What kind of attack did they give Auburn when the 2 of them were in gear?
Tank's really good, and Hunter's a little bit different. Tank. I don't think he's. It's really Cartavius. He used to be built like a tank. I think he's actually lost weight. I think he wanted to get faster. And Hunter is a little shiftier and a little faster. When they really get their offense going and Tank's rolling, they're really good because then they can do a lot of other things, play action and stuff, and get it down the field. But they can't do that if they can't hit people, and that's what they've been. Quarterback's been off target, missing guys that are open. Schenker, their tight end, is pretty good. He catches. He's consistent. Catches balls. They got some guys that are pretty good on the outside, but Tank's their guy. I mean, when he gets rolling and has one of those 150-yard games, you can be in for a long day sometimes if he gets lathered up, and that's what they, I think, are going to probably try to do against Penn State. I don't know if they can.
Last week, for example, Fox had this game, but Texas played Alabama. This week, Auburn plays Penn State. So, and I realize people have to remember Texas is still in the Big 12, but you get intersectional matchups. They seem like they're a rare commodity these days. How do you feel about keeping elements like that still alive within the game?
Well, I hope they can. The kickoff classics and that type of thing that Atlanta has, 2 or 3. At least you get major conference Power 5 guys against Power 5 guys, and it's good. And the Alabama-Texas game was a great scene, and it's down there. So, I mean, the ones that are at neutral sites are a little different because depending on what part of the country you're coming from, it can be really lopsided as far as the fans. and it was lopsided in the Texas-Alabama game, obviously. But I think it's great, and I think most coaches in the SEC would say, let's play one really good non-conference team, and let's play 9 conference games, and the fans will come back. Well, most fans are going to sell out everything anyway, but some places aren't that way because they go, I don't want to see Mercer necessarily, and Texas A&M won't want to see Appalachian or anybody
ever
like
again.
Ever again. I don't know why anybody would ever schedule those guys either home or away. And so, God bless them. It was fun to watch, because I didn't have a game last weekend, and I'm watching ball, and I'm sitting here, and my wife's going back and forth through the family room, and she's going, wow, what's going on? And I said, well, this team just beat this team, and they weren't supposed to. And she said, well, that's good. And I said, well, it's not that good because your husband was supposed to do Texas A&M and Alabama on October 8th, and it kind of messes things up. And she said, and then she saw the coach's interview, and she goes, you got to just enjoy this, don't you? I said, yeah, I do. And I saw the coach after the game because that was just so cool that kind of stuff can happen. But, good for maybe not good for some of us, but really good for college football last weekend with Marshall, Notre Dame, and that one.
Yeah.
And Sunbelt had a better outing than just about any conference there was last week.
No question. In fact, Penn State played Appalachian State in the opener at 19-18, whatever it was. And the game went to overtime, Brad. So you do not want to see these people on your schedule. No,
not at all. I mean, you got to be crazy even to do it. Not to mention they take $1.5 million home with them.
Oh, I know. They get $1.5 million and the win.
I mean, you can't beat that. That's a good weekend, man.
Yeah, it's a great weekend. As a matter of fact, that's it. That's great. I mean, but again, these are the kind of games that are really good gauge games, especially at the beginning of the season. You've seen, obviously, the SEC up close and personal, week in and week out, various places. What does make the SEC special to you?
I don't want to say it just means more. I hate that slogan.
Me too.
The defensive lines and just the guys on defense, front fours and stuff are just a hair different. I don't think it's any different than the Big Ten is now, but other conferences, you just don't have guys that are, 306 pounds that can run like tailbacks, and there's a whole bunch of those guys in the SEC, and just about every place you go. And I don't know, from the fan standpoint, I don't think it's any better than Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, Wisconsin. I get the same kind of buzz, I think, wherever I do games. It's just that the SEC has a reputation about being better than other conferences as far as the fan experience. I don't think it's any different, really. I think at LSU they drink a little more, maybe, if it's a night game. That's a whole other story.
Great, let's schedule them. Let's have some fun with this thing. Let's do it. I have to. I don't need you to comment on Brian Harson's offseason. That's a separate entity. But you do have to deal with him. What kind of guy has he been to deal with on your end?
Pretty reserved. I don't think he trusts, at least not us yet, or maybe media in general in the South, in the SEC. And I think when you come from somewhere else, there's a perception that you're never going to be able to recruit, you're never going to be able to win because you're not from here, and that type of thing. And not everybody can be from the South, and end up coaching football in the South or in the SEC. So, I think he came in feeling like that everybody thinks he's an outsider. And so in that respect, a little bit reserved. And then he's had just so many different things come up. And, I don't quite know how we're going to deal with it yet. You're right. But coaches leaving, players leaving, rumors about him and his personal life, all that kind of stuff. And then the guy that hired him, resigned 2 weeks ago, Alan Green, who I liked a lot, the athletic director. And so the guy that hired him isn't there. The fans are not crazy about the brand of football. And I think if there's one thing that you find out about Auburn football, is, how can I put this? The boosters have a bigger influence at Auburn probably than any place I can think of anywhere in college football, if that makes sense to you. So, the pressure of, I'll be honest with you, I didn't know if he was going to make it through the summer, and he made it, and now he's off to a 2-0 start, which is great. But this thing can go south in a hurry at Auburn if everything doesn't go right. So, I wish him well, but the guys that have the money and the boosters and the fact that they're still paying Gus Malzahn, and they're probably still paying Gene Chizik. I don't know how many guys are still paying. They might be still paying Tommy Tuberville. I don't know. But, those guys got deep pockets and they got a lot of influence. And so that alone is kind of always hanging over your head, especially when your athletic director that hired you isn't around anymore.
All right. Looking forward to seeing you on Saturday, Brad. Really am. Thanks so much for doing this.
You got it, buddy. I'll see you down on the plains.
Sounds great, Brad. Thank you.
All right, Steve.
He is, without question, one of the best in the business. That is Brad Nessler from CBS. He'll have the call tomorrow on CBS. Meanwhile, Andy Burcham is going to have the call on the Auburn radio network. We'll talk with him in the next half hour. It's a quick backstory on Andy Burcham. What a great person he is, and his wife as well. You've heard the call of the kick six when Auburn beat Alabama in 2013. Rob Bramblett made that great call. You may recall that Rob Bramblett and his wife were driving somewhere, I think it was in Auburn itself, and they were struck from behind by a teenage driver, and the two of them were killed. And he and Andy Burcham had worked for 25 years together, doing Auburn baseball in particular. And at one point, they're so close, Rob and his wife asked Andy and his wife, hey, look, if anything were to ever happen to us, we would like the two of you to raise our children. They have a son and a daughter. And naturally, of course, they said yes. Now, you're not thinking something like that's going to happen. But unfortunately, it did. And Rob and his wife were both killed in that car crash. That meant Andy and his wife then took over as the parents for Rob's children. And by all accounts have done, no surprise, a fabulous job raising them. It's an impossible situation to be put in, but that tells you the kind of people the Burchams are. Now, I wanted to tell the story now before we have Andy on the next half hour, because I'm not going to bring it up with him in the next half hour. I'm not going to. I know I've talked to him privately about it, but I'm not going to talk to him on the air about it. But I wanted you, the audience, to know that he's not only an excellent announcer, baseball, football, whatever it may be, but he and his wife are really good people. That is something big, because they don't have children themselves. They did not have children themselves. And now suddenly their parents they took over two teenagers. And let's give credit where credit is due. There's so many great people out there. The Burchams happen to be two of them. And we'll talk with Andy in the next half hour. Today's show brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Imports, domestics, microbrews, the best selection of beer anywhere, wine coolers, water, soft drinks, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and out every day. The Pickle Bar, led by the barrels and the dills. Indeed, second to none. All at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Stock up for the big game right now. And we're in the Sunbury Motors studio. Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors, Kia routes 11 and 15, Hummels Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.